If you haven't heard the Mueller report, goodness gracious, if you haven't heard the Durham report has been released, the investigation is finally over, even though for anyone with common sense, the investigation was over before it started because we knew exactly what happened. I knew what happened in 2016. I literally wrote a white paper about it in 2017 before this investigation even was off the ground. If you want to read the whole entire thing, and you should, it is on the Justice Department's website. So type in justice.gov/storage/Durham report, or you can just Google DOJ Durham report and the real deal will pop up. You know you're in the right place when you see a ridiculously long 316-page PDF that looks incredibly boring. But Epoch Times has got like 10 ridiculously good articles and like another 10 opinion pieces about this. I just want to hit on like 2 highlights from here, and then Samantha can give us her thoughts. But number one, the FBI did not interview people connected with the information that the agency used to open the investigation. So, you know, Samantha calls in a tip and says, hey, these really bad guys, I think they're Russians and they're doing this thing at this place. And they're like, we're on the case. We're going to go investigate. And she's like, are you going to talk to me? No. Why do we need to talk to you? We're the FBI. We don't need you. Like, that's a super duper red flag. I think it's good that he opened his article with that. The Bureau did rush, again, reading from the article, the Bureau rushed to open the initial investigation based on unvetted intelligence from Australia, according to Durham. Some thoughts about that. And then last thing before I toss it to you, the Bureau's rushed to open the investigation and the shoddy evidence used for the premise of who is calling me? David, I'm going to have to call you back, my guy. See, he must not be a fan of the show. Threw me off. Okay, yeah, here we go. The FBI rushed to open the investigation, and the shoddy evidence used the premise for the probe were a departure from how the department treated other politically sensitive investigations. Absolutely true. Mueller, why do I keep saying Mueller? Durham says it's an objective fact that the Bureau's handling of important aspects of the Crossfire Hurricane Mariner were seriously deficient. I think that out of his professionalism, he tried not to use the word negligent or incompetent, but he is saying it's pretty scornful here to say it is an objective fact that the Bureau did a terrible job investigating this, handling information, handling the sensitive and political aspects of this whole freaking dumpster fire. You got to understand, for like a prosecutor, for a special investigator, that line is a scathing indictment against everyone. And the Bureau said, oopsie, we're sorry. Our bad. So what are your thoughts?
Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, if anybody had been paying attention from day one, I mean, we knew that the minute this dropped, okay, maybe not the minute, but I mean, it was pretty obvious that this was a political job. Like, this was completely politically motivated. I mean, with everything that they accused Trump of, I was always like, okay, where's the evidence? What is going on? Like, I don't want to support somebody who's corrupt. I don't want to support somebody who is doing shady things in our elections or being, disrespectful to our vote or whatever the situation. I don't want to vote for people like Biden, essentially. I don't, I want to look into things, and I want to trust that when the FBI comes out and says that they have reason to believe that there is collusion between then a presidential candidate and, our election situation, that's all going on, that the FBI is saying, that I don't have to be like, but is it? Are they lying? The fact that first, who was it? Hilary Clinton, Obama, Biden, James Comey, all of these people were briefed on this plan, because this was a plan devised by the Clinton campaign to create this narrative, to stir up a scandal against Trump. And they all, got together and said, this is what we're going to do. And then they
You're
started
being super kind to say that they were briefed, because of the interagency-ness of this.
Yeah.
The president was directly involved. President Obama was directly involved. You can't get this type of interagency cooperation without the express permission of the president, not a secretary, not a department head, not some random, like Bud Light advertiser, just fire number 6 chick or whatever. You need the head honcho's blessing to do something like this.
Yeah. Yeah. So bottom line, they all knew that this was crap. And the FBI knew, I think it's quoted in the report as saying that they had zero confidence or something like that in the information that they had in their hands at the time that this investigation was launched. They had zero confidence in the stuff that was being presented to them to indicate that any of it was true, that any of these accusations were true. And they went with it. They launched this thing that took 3 years of investigations. I think it cost somewhere like $40 million. There was the creation of this Steele dossier, what came to be known as the Steele dossier. They tried to pay people to make this legitimate. They went to a guy that, come to find out, his name Igor Danchenko, that was actually a Russian agent himself, at least that's what we are being told, to try and make this information look true, to try and find some way to make this look legitimate and provable in court. And they couldn't even pay somebody to make it look real.
No. And a bunch of people denied him. A bunch of people are like, nah, I'm good.
They're like, they took the money, but they're like, I got nothing. I can't help you. And they still went to the news, every single day. Adam Schiff out there saying, I have irrefutable evidence that Trump
Adam Schiff needs to go to prison.
He does. Oh my gosh. But it's not like he was just saying, there is evidence exists. He was out there saying, I have personally laid eyes on irrefutable evidence. Repeated it. And not one journalist thought to stop and ask, maybe we need to see it.
Or even, if we're not going to show it on national television, at least have the wherewithal to say, and many of them have done this, Anderson Cooper has done this, respectable journalists, Donna What's-Her-Face, have said, hey, look, we don't need to show it on screen, but I need to see it. Like, me personally, I need to see it, and then I can say to my audience, with the trust that I've built up, that I have seen it. It's not just Adam Guy. I have a household nickname for him that Adam I won't say. It's not just his bumbling word. Oh, I've seen it. And he was just hoping, like the Trump elevator video. He was just hoping this has got to exist. It's got to show up. I'm just going to manifest it. I'm just going to name it and claim it, and then it'll drop in my lap. And it never came. They looked and they looked and they looked. I'm so glad that you brought up the Steele dossier, because there's an interesting part. Not even in the weeds, guys. There's an interesting part about it in the actual report. So the FBI and their fearless leader, Director Christopher Wray, basically says, hey, guys, our bad, but not only our bad, the conduct that went on there, we already stopped doing that. That stuff was James Comey stuff. That was 2009 to 2017 stuff. I'm the good guy. We've readed out all of that. We've already implemented dozens of corrective actions. Can you name any? No. Can you tell us about how any of that stuff works? Oh, no, that would be tradecraft and bureau secrets. Can you tell us any times that these new measures have been successful? Oh, well, we can't comment on an ongoing investigation. Just so you know what some of these practices are. If you go and I think it's page 12, the Steele dossier, they're talking about Perkins Coie and the whole thing. where them as an international law firm acting on behalf of the Clinton campaign and behalf of the DNC, they retain Fusion GPS, which is an American-based investigative firm who turns around and hires Christopher Steele, who's described as Orbis Business Intelligence. He describes himself as a former intelligence official with the British government. I got to tell you guys right now, that is illegal. That is completely illegal. If I even had a dream about doing this, the government would throw me in prison for the rest of my life. Not a joke. But here's the thing. Here is the thing, which makes it hook, line, and sinker. They defrauded the FISA court. They lied to them because they said that they needed to protect the sources. They said that they couldn't, they were still investigating and couldn't validate the trustworthiness of the source. We now know that source was Christopher Steele. We know that as a fact, okay? And it says right here in the Durham report that these are Durham's findings. Steele described himself as a former intelligence official for the British government and was also, at the time, an FBI CHS, confidential human source intelligence. So this dude, I don't even know how they did this. I'm unaware of how this can legally be done, but whatever. This dude, who was literally SAS, British intelligence, like British CIA, was a confidential human source, a human intelligence source for the FBI. So then it's like he's got a security clearance. He's got credentials. He's heavily cleared. He's read into stuff that we've never even heard of. Of course they could verify, but they couldn't say that it was him because he was getting paid through Orbis, through Fusion, through DNC, through Clinton campaign. And they say that we're the ones doing shell games. They got Hunter Biden and his $3 million paintings. They got Joe Biden out here doing fraud to get prosecutors fired in the Ukraine. And then they got stuff like this. And they're hoping that too much time has passed for us to care. And it blows my mind. It makes my blood boil. Man, yeah. I can't believe I wanted to go and work for those guys once upon a time.
I know. Well, and there are a lot of people that have come out, like from the FBI, especially after numerous, it seems like we just keep getting more stories of corruption. And they're like, I just wanted to go and fight for the good guys. I wanted to go and protect, American citizens and fight terrorists and all of these things. And there are good people in there. But when you put the FBI and the CIA and, these high intelligence agencies through, when you put this kind of thing out there, there is no trust left. There is no reason. You can't just call something like a 3-year investigation that was completely fabricated and that you knew it was fabricated. You can't just call that a misstep. And then when you're coming out and you're refusing to investigate people that are actually committing crimes right now, like the Biden crime family, like Hunter Biden, that tells me that you haven't corrected anything. And like you said, that they're just hoping that we're just going to go along and take their word for it. And it's just not going to happen, which is really unfortunate because we need the FBI. We need a high, intelligence agency and a law enforcement agency in this country, but this one can't be trusted. So what are we supposed to do?
The whole thing is just really upsetting. You said something that sparked my little brain. One, the FBI needs to go back to law enforcement. I'm not convinced that they have a substantial need to take on an intelligence function. Oh, I remember. The other thing is they're not really focusing in on what this actually was. They're being vague enough to get us to forget the particulars. And the particulars are the subjects of this investigation weren't like CEOs of companies, like the CEO of Walmart and the CFO of Amazon are caught in a conspiracy. This is government officials at the highest level across all of the agencies conspiring with the blessing of the sitting president and the former corrupt, Secretary of State / failed presidential candidate, and the DNC and their billions of dollars of backing, and Hillary's campaign. This is all of them collaborating, some would say conspiring, but we'll say collaborating to plot against the candidate and then the sitting president of the United States.
Yeah.
This is like stuff that went on, not a call for violence. This is like stuff that went on in Lincoln's time, where they ultimately conspired and killed the president. Well, it's nuts. And then they turn around and look at us and say, January 6th, we almost lost our country to 3 grandmas and a guy with a horn hat and no weapons. Meanwhile, they got spies out here with freaking black cards buying up all kinds of equipment. I don't know. I can't be convinced that they are not actively trying to topple the government and make it into a totally different kind of government.
Oh, I 100% believe that. Call me a conspiracy theorist if you want, but they're trying to topple everything that this country stands for. But I thought it was really funny. Not funny, I don't know. Adam Schiff, in a follow-up article, when people were asking him what he thought. Where did I put it? Oh, man. I typed out, or I copy and pasted this quote, and now I can't find it. Oh, there it is. There it is. Okay. It says, when asked by the Epoch Times about the Durham report's conclusion of no collusion between Trump and Russia and whether the lawmaker stood by his claims to the contrary, Schiff replied, if you read Mr. Durham's report, what he said is that there wasn't evidence of collusion before they began the investigation. That's obviously a very important distinction to make. And it's like, you're admitting that they had no evidence of collusion, no evidence for the reason that they started the investigation. And to me, it might just be me, but you need evidence to launch an investigation. This is not a country where we have guilty until proven innocent. And you notice in all of these news clips, everything that they kept repeating is, well, it hasn't not been proven. It hasn't. Yeah, wow. But it hasn't been disproven. And it's like, that's not how it works. You don't just put crap out there and arrest somebody and say, well, hasn't been disproven. That makes them a criminal. That's not the justice system we want, guys.
They've been watching too much Law and Order. I'm so glad I have that sound effect.
I know. It's so appropriate. So it's just, the whole thing is infuriating. Just, I don't know. I think maybe I still have like PTSD from that 3 years, but it was nonstop. It was relentless. It was every single day. And they incited so much division and so much hate against Republicans because of it. Like, now we're just known as Trump supporters. Now we're just known as MAGA Republicans. And there are still people that believe, for whatever reason, that this Russian hoax thing was still true.
Hey, if you enjoyed that clip from the Joe Mobley Show, of which I join every Thursday evening to talk about the week's biggest headlines and the stories most likely to make your head explode, there's a few things I need you to do. First, like this video, leave your thoughts in the comments below, and share it with others. Also, be sure you are subscribed to my channel. You can click the link in the description box to catch the week's latest full episode, and tune in every Thursday evening at 7:30 p.m. Central Time, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, where we stream on all major platforms on both of our accounts, including YouTube, Getter, Twitter, and Facebook. But most importantly, Rumble, because we do need to support platforms that support free speech. Also, be sure to catch my daily videos where I talk about the topics that I think matter to everyday people, especially those of us trying to raise kids in the insanity known as today's society. I do appreciate your support on my channel, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.